What you mad for? You ain't got no style or no money. And I'm like, come on through, Corky. I'm going up on my soapbox. That's basically. Let's talk about drag and all its forms. What, Cookie? Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. This is actually going to be my review for Basketball Wives, and that's the ones in LA. And it's season 6, episode 6. And like I said, I was laughing because this was the episode where, I mean, how do you take that when somebody tells you, "Child, you ain't got no style, and bitch, you ain't got no money either"? How do you take that? How are you supposed to take that? But we'll get to it. Let's just talk about at first we see Malaysia and Jackie. And they were actually talking about this whole trip that they're actually having going down to Miami. All the girls are going to, hang out down in Miami. And that damn Jackie, she's steady going on. And Malaysia's like, well, I guess there'll be some old guys down there we could dance with. And that Jackie, here she go in her lesbonic fashion. Oh no, I could just dance with y'all. My husband will have a fit. Jackie, Doug doesn't care if you dance with an old man. Doug doesn't care what you do, Jackie, as long as you do it and don't aggravate the hell out of him. Trust me. Ridiculous. Um, Once they actually get there, they're going through picking the rooms and that whole thing. It was a pretty house. There was like the one room was kind of, it's like, is that bunk beds? But a mess. And there was this blow up mattress thing. And then Jackie was supposed she's sleeping in the living room on the blow up mattress. I was like, child, whatever. Y'all not gonna worry me with this room assignment thing. What is that about? I'm more that person when I go on vacation. I don't really care because I'm not really pressed about sleeping because that's like the last thing I'm gonna do. Like the first time I ever went to Vegas, when we went for Vegas Gate, I didn't really care. I gave up my nice room for like a smaller room. I didn't care. I was just so happy to be there, and I had such a great time that it didn't matter where I slept because that's the least of what I did while I was there was sleep. I didn't give a shit. I didn't give a damn. But anyway, it seems as though every time people go on these trips, but I guess it's important to some people. I don't give a shit, child. Let's party, honey. That's my thing. Let's party. But they did this after they got everything situated. They sat down and they were playing that game, Never Have I Ever, and they were actually going through it. And when they got to a question, Never have I ever slept with a married man, I said, "Oh, here we go, honey. It's gonna be some shit." And I think you put your finger down or put your finger up or whatever it is. But Evelyn was over there playing coy, honey, like she ain't slept with a married man, honey, and everybody was giving this. Like looking at her, looking at Tammy, honey, and Tammy's giving, why can't you just admit it? You know what I mean? It was, she played that game for a little bit, then said, okay, well, technically, as the girl, leave that alone. Stop dragging up. I don't even know why they played that game and nobody. I took a messy bitch to throw that question in there. Just a mess. Speaking of mess, let me just say this. Let me say this. Um, there's been such mess going around in these YouTube streets lately. I want to do something really nice actually for someone in the YouTube streets. So I'm going to take a little quick minute here and I'm going to ask a favor of you all, my watchers. There is a little young man who is actually, he's not new to YouTube, but he's making a resurgence, if you will, onto YouTube. It's little Scotty, or Mr. Still Standing. And that's it. It's all one word, Mr. Still Standing. If you have not seen Scotty, he's funny. He's really funny. He's a sweetie. But I want you guys to go over and give him a shot and tell him that I sent you over. If you like the content, which I'm sure you will, go ahead and subscribe. And like I said, he's doing a resurgence. Scotty was already here. He was here before I came. But, life threw him a couple curveballs, and And he's now able to dedicate more time to his YouTube channel, and he's starting to rebuild. And yeah, he's getting very serious about his channel, and he's actually in the midst of planning his first meet and greet and all of these things. He has a lot going on. So in any way that I could be helpful, then I want to do that. So take yourselves over there at some point. Check out Mr. Still Standing and tell Scotty that I sent you over. Come on, Scotty. So, okay, back to the regularly scheduled programming. Tammy sitting down with Malaysia and made it very clear to her about Brandy. She said, I don't like her. I don't care for that bitch. And I don't want to be around that bitch. And Malaysia's kind of looking at her like, oh, okay, well, all right, And that's, she was very, very plain. I don't want to be around her. Now, the thing is, you kind of can't control public places and different things like that. When it's like circles of friends, you kind of can't control that. Now, I can understand if it's something you're throwing, but I don't know how far. Tammy is a bit of a control freak, which is kind of funny because, my mother's very controlling. And at times, I want to take her and shake the shit out of her because sometimes it's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? You can't control anything but you. And people who are controlling like that, they become a bit irritating at times, so she drives me crazy a little bit. I'm like, whatever. So I don't know how effective that'll be, but she did put it out there. She did let her know, I really don't want to be around Brandy. I don't want her in my space. Is what it is. So moving on. Remember Evelyn was talking about Kristen in that last episode. We talked about that whole thing about her with the makeover. So I said, Lord, here we go. It's time for this. So the first day, after that night, first day, full day, we're there. And Evelyn says, yeah, we're going to do something really fun today. We're going to do a makeover on you, Kristen. It just went downhill from the god doggone gate. She was looking like, do a makeover on me? Whose idea is this, honey? So it all comes out that basically was Evelyn's idea. And they were trying to smooth it in, you know what I mean? Jackie's like, oh, no, I didn't know nothing about it. Remember that. Jackie, oh, I didn't know nothing about this, that, thing, and the other. So they go on. Next thing Kristen don't hide her feelings too well. So she said, let me get on that and gather myself. She gets up and goes and sits over by herself. Jackie goes over and talks with her, and reiterates to her she knew nothing about the makeover thing, but she's sure that Evelyn doesn't mean anything bad, that is being done all in good faith and in good fun. So they come back and they join the other girls. By this time, Sanaya has shown up. And they're saying, this is her here. This is Sanaya. She's the actual stylist that's going to do it. And Kristen's kind of like eased more into it. But then it comes out, as they're going through the conversation, Jackie's like, well, I kind of told her, because Sanaya busted and said, yeah, Jackie said you may not be very receptive to the idea. And Kristen looked and she said, Jackie, you just said, pull the Phaedra Parks. You just said that you didn't know nothing about it. Did you lie? Welcome to Jackie 101, Kristen. Jackie's a liar. That's what Jackie does. So they ended up going back and forth with that a little bit. And it was like, okay, whatever. She was busted in a lie. Sanaya told Chris, she said, come on, girl. Let's just go. Let's go get started. Everything's going to be fine. Just trust me. I got you. So she's being a good sport about it. Even though she felt attacked, she felt targeted, I don't know how I would have taken it. I probably would have told him, fuck y'all, get out of here with that shit. Because, generally the worst dressed people think that they got it going on, honey. You can't tell their ass that they ain't together, baby. Ah! And generally, they're the first ones that'll attack your fashion sense. I got a family member, baby, who stood flat foot in the floor in here with a pair of black patent leather sandals and a pair of purple socks, and told another family member You're not fashion. You don't know nothing about fashion. And I'm like, and you do? Socks and sandals first. And purple socks and cheap patent leather sandals. Miss Thing, if you don't get your ass somewhere and sit down. A mess. But see, here I go. Let me get off my soapbox. But and I'm back and let's move on. So it didn't take very long before Sanaya was actually being just goddamn rude to Krista. She's talking. She'd have pulled up a meme that says, "Oh, girl," the meme says something about, "It's not that you don't have style, girl, you're just broke." And I'm like, oh. And she kept throwing these slurs out about her not having money, and then slurs about her not having any style. And she's like, Chris is saying, like, I don't even like her fucking style. And that's why I'm sitting there and I'm looking at what Sanaya has on, and I'm like, Sanaya at this point, what she had on, she's looking like the hairdresser that don't comb their hair. You got a lot of hairdressers that don't comb their hair. That's what she was looking like. Because that outfit she had on wasn't bumping. It really wasn't. And she's telling her, she's like, yeah, I do like ghetto chic, like gutter chic. And Kristen was like, I don't like it. But girl, maybe you don't have designer pieces and stuff. But we don't out to try to work within your budget. I'm like, come on, we're sitting here with Shawnee O'Neal, and this is and Jackie Christie, and this is the group of girls. What would make you even think that she don't have money? I promise you, Sanaya, everybody there probably had more money than her. You know what I mean? I didn't get it, but whatever. She was rude. And then Shawnee and Tammy were the funniest. Shawnee and Tammy were laying back on this bed in this room, looking at her as she was going, as she said all these things out of her mouth. It was hilarious. They looked like a deer, and they had and it was the same look. They flashed about 4 times. They was like, I said, oh my God. It was a mess. And they went on, and then Sanaya started like getting defensive herself and getting real smart. And then she's like, I never said that the bitch didn't have no style. They're like, yes, you did. You did say that. And here Kristen walks off again. And she went and sat with Bonnie Jill. And it was Bonnie Jill. I can't think of who the other person was that went upstairs with her. But they were upstairs. And Malaysia. And they were saying, what did she say to you? Because they weren't down there, so they didn't hear. She's like, yeah, it's a bitch. Somehow I was on a budget and I'm broke and I didn't have no style. And they're like, what? Like, girl, she wouldn't have said that shit to me. So at this point, Evelyn comes up. And Evelyn's like stunned. She's stunned. I honestly don't think that Evelyn gave a lot of thought to, like, I don't think she was trying to clown her, like, per se. To clown, like, I'm going to clown this bitch. But I think she thought she was really going to do something nice, but it wasn't well thought out because you don't know her well enough to try to do that with her. You know what I mean? Like, you would know, she has known Tammy long enough to know not to try to do that to Tammy. She might could have got away with that with Shawnee. You know what I mean? Shawnee might have been receptive to it, like where Tammy would be just ready to beat her ass. Well, Kristen's more like Tammy than she is like Shawnee. But Shawnee, and I noticed that a lot of shit, when this shit goes down, Shawnee's again sitting in the back laughing like, this is $20 more in my purse. So I sat there, I said, So Evelyn's up there, and at a point, Evelyn was like, giving, because she was kind of disgusted with the way that Sanaya was actually acting. It was really off-putting. And she was really running it like, well, no, fuck that, because she's out of order. Ain't nobody telling her to talk to you like that. All that shit that she's doing is out of order. But then Jackie and Sanaya end up coming upstairs, and did not goddamn Evelyn pussy pop and backpedal into some tears. She flipped that shit and then started crying. I never wanted to do that. I would never want to. I said, wait a minute, Evelyn, you just was tough a minute ago. Now you crying. Evelyn, see, See? Yeah, you need a good smacking right through here. That was a mess. I said no, she didn't, and she didn't backpedal pussy pop. She pussy popped into a backpedal, into a tear. I said, girl, that's a mess, and that just was like too much, too many things. So Sanaya ended up apologizing. She apologized after she got caught in her lie. She apologized and everything. Then Jackie took her ass and asked her to stay. Oh, you should just stay with us the rest of the time, child. Kristen was like, you know what, I'm ready to go home. This is some fuck shit. So she ends up asking Sanaa to stay. Later on that night, they go out for drinks. Hattie Sanaa gets at the table and gets to talk about how she used to sleep with this basketball player. And she said he was at the head of the NBA. And Shawnee and Tammy knew exactly who she was talking about at a point. She never said his name, but she's going on about how she was in love with him. And at this point, all the girls at the table are looking at Sanaa like, girl, you ain't shit. You ain't nothing, and ain't nobody feeling you. And I'm laughing because Shawnee said flat out, she's a fucking homewrecker. I know exactly who it was. He had kids and he had a wife. She was nothing but a homewrecker. And she actually stated herself that the last time she was with the guy was 2 days before last time she slept with him was 2 days before his wedding. I said, girl, tacky. Tacky, 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 tacky. And she was steadily taking all this solace in how she had, sat center court on the front row with him and this, that, and the other. I said, girl, you ain't coming across looking too hot here. It was a hot ass mess. I said, mm-mm. So then a couple of them was like, you know what? I gotta go to the bathroom. It was Malaysia and Kristen. So they had to go to the bathroom. Child, and that's when all hell broke loose. They come back to the table with Brandy Maxfield, honey. I said, oh my God, honey. Didn't I goddamn Tammy said, nah, I knew you were stupid, but I didn't know you were deaf as well. I said, oh my God, you can see it. There's going to be a breakdown in this shit where I believe Tammy's going to end up not liking Malaysia too. Because she asked her. Now that was just unnecessary. I'm like, again, you can't control everybody, but I wouldn't even, out of respect for Brandy, I wouldn't have invited her to that. Nobody wants to be bothered with her really, except for you. But here she come, honey. Shawnee, Evelyn, and Tammy got up and left. They're like, oh, well, we're going to call it a night. We're out of here. And they left. That motherfucking Malaysia going to say, well, them bitches jumped up and left out of here like SWV right after a concert back in the 90s. I said, oh, double read, honey. Then they went outside, and this is why Brandy gets into so much for. They were like, nobody's going to say anything. And they're like, nobody got nothing to say to me. Hey, y'all, this, that, thing, and the other. And then she was just being, when it went off, because it ended at that scene, she was very much being she was too in their face with it. But you know they're not feeling you. Why are you in their face? Like that. So I think it's going, when we open up for the next episode, it's going to be some shit. And I'm here for it. But yeah, I'll be fussing about Tammy controlling. Tammy actually tried to remove herself from a situation before there was a situation. Malaysia, you out of order, bitch. All right, y'all. That's it. That's all I got. I'll talk to y'all next week. Later.